Title: Wings Down, Duty Up. The late afternoon sun dipped low behind the hills as Officer Mark Rivera cruised down the quiet stretch of Route 19. The radio crackled softly in the background, but the road was calm, too calm for a man who thrived on purpose. The scent of sun-warmed alfalfa drifted through the open window. Then, like a streak of fire tearing the sky, a flash zipped past the windshield. Mark's eyes shot up. A small aircraft, a Cessna, by the look, was spinning, wobbling in the air, trailing smoke. Within seconds, it vanished below the tree line near Miller's Creek, followed by a dull, bone-shaking thud. A burst of black smoke rose in the distance. Adrenaline surged. He floored the accelerator, tires spitting gravel as he veered onto the dirt road bordering the cornfields. He radioed it in with calm urgency. "Dispatch, this is Unit 12. We got a plane down. Repeat, light aircraft crash, north side of Miller's Creek. I'm on scene." Slamming the cruiser to a stop, Mark grabbed his flashlight and first aid kit, then sprinted through the tall corn, the rustling stalks slapping against his uniform. The wreckage came into view, crumpled metal half buried in the field, flames licking up from the engine block. The air reeked of fuel, smoke, and burning oil. Inside the cockpit, a young man, barely out of his teens, was slumped forward groaning. Blood streaked across his forehead. One leg was pinned beneath the crushed paneling. Mark didn't hesitate. "Hey, can you hear me?" he shouted, already moving closer. The pilot stirred. "Help! I can't move. I've got you. Stay with me." Without a thought for his own safety, Mark smashed the side window with his baton. Shards flew. The metal frame groaned as he forced the door open and reached in, straining to pull the pilot free. The heat was intense now. The engine hissed and popped. Flames danced inches away. Just as he wrenched the pilot out and pulled him to the ground, a violent whoosh erupted, the fuel tank igniting behind them in a bright orange blast. They tumbled forward, Mark shielding the young man with his body. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Later, paramedics confirmed the pilot had a mild concussion and a fractured ankle, but he'd live. It had been his first solo flight, a routine training session that went horribly wrong after a mechanical failure. Back at the station, someone asked Mark what made him charge into a burning wreck. He shrugged, brushing soot from his sleeves. "Wasn't thinking," he said simply. "I just saw someone who needed help." In a world where seconds count and instincts matter, Officer Mark Rivera didn't wait. He acted, and that's what heroes do. 2 days later, the skies were clear again, but the event had left a lasting mark on the small town. Mark sat at his desk, sipping lukewarm coffee, flipping through incident reports. The room smelled faintly of scorched leather. His own belt had been singed in the rescue, and the memory still clung to it like a badge of honor. A knock echoed on the doorframe. It was Sheriff Daniels, a tall man with sun-worn features and steady eyes. He stepped in holding a folded piece of paper. "You made the front page," he said, laying the newspaper down. There it was. A photo taken by a local farmer showed Mark carrying the injured pilot across the cornfield, black smoke curling in the sky behind them. The headline read, "Officer risks life to save young pilot." Mark exhaled, uneasy with the attention. "I didn't do it for that." Daniel smiled. "I know you didn't, but the folks out there need to be reminded that real courage still exists." Mark didn't reply. He just nodded, folded the paper, and tucked it in his drawer. That afternoon, a small ceremony was held in front of City Hall. Mark didn't care for ceremonies, but the mayor insisted. A few dozen townsfolk gathered, farmers, shopkeepers, kids still in school uniforms. The pilot's parents were there too, eyes red from worry, hearts full of gratitude. The young pilot, Ethan Miller, had insisted on attending in a wheelchair. When he spoke, his voice was trembling but clear. "I was alone up there. I thought I was going to die. And then I saw this man pull me out. He didn't know my name, didn't care about the fire or the danger. He just saved me." Mark felt a lump in his throat he wasn't ready for. As the crowd applauded, he looked out at the town he served, not just as an officer, but as a guardian of lives, quiet and strong. Later that night, back in his cruiser, parked again on Route 19, Mark stared at the stars, reflecting on the fragility of life and the weight of moments that demand more than thought. They demand heart. The radio crackled. Unit 12. Report of a stranded motorist near the old mill. He smiled to himself and picked up the receiver. Copy that, dispatch. On my way. And just like that, the job rolled on. Because duty doesn't end when the crowd stops clapping. The road to the old mill was quiet. Shadows stretched long under the moonlight. Mark's headlights cut through the darkness, revealing a broken-down pickup with its hood up and hazard lights blinking like distant fireflies. A man and his teenage daughter stood beside it, waving. Mark pulled up, rolled down his window. Evening. Trouble with the engine? The man nodded. She overheated. Radiator shot, I think. Mark stepped out, calm and steady as always. Let's have a look. It was a simple thing, not as dramatic as pulling a kid from a burning wreck. But Mark treated it with the same care. In 30 minutes, they had the truck safely towed and the family waiting inside his cruiser, warm and safe, sipping bottled water from his emergency stash. As he drove them back toward town, the girl in the back seat asked softly, "Are you the officer who saved that pilot?" He glanced at her in the rearview mirror, then nodded once. "Yeah, you're brave," she said. Mark gave a small smile. Sometimes bravery's just doing what needs to be done, even when you're scared. A week later, the department held a quiet moment at the morning briefing. No medals, no speeches, just a new patch added to Mark's uniform. A small golden wing over a blue field. His fellow officers clapped him on the back. No need for words, they all understood. Later that day, Mark returned to the field near Miller's Creek. The wreckage was long gone, but the scar on the ground remained. A blackened stretch of dirt where fire met courage. He stood there alone, listening to the wind rustle the corn. Then he walked back to his cruiser, climbed in, and started the engine. Because heroes don't wait for praise. They keep moving forward, ready for the next call. Wings down, duty up.